The transport ship shook violently as it entered the atmosphere of Nexus Prime. Maya Chen pressed her face against the cold window, watching the swirling purple clouds part to reveal a world that existed only in her imagination until 3 weeks ago. Below her stretched an impossible city. Towers of crystal and light rose from the ground like giant fingers reaching toward the sky. Flying vehicles moved between buildings in perfect patterns. Everything glowed with colors she had never seen on Earth. She was 17 years old. She had never left her small town in Montana, and now she was about to attend the most powerful school in the entire universe. There had to be a mistake. The letter had arrived on a Tuesday morning. It appeared on her kitchen table without warning, sealed with a symbol that seemed to shift and change when she looked at it. Her mother had screamed, her father had called the police, but the letter remained, patient and impossible, until Maya finally opened it. Dear candidate, it had read. You have been selected for admission to the Celestial Academy of Higher Learning. This institution serves the most gifted students from across the 17 galaxies. Your transport will arrive in 3 standard days. Failure to attend is not an option. Maya had laughed at first. Then the transport ship had actually appeared in her backyard, and she stopped laughing. The ship landed with a gentle bump. Around her, other passengers began to stand and gather their belongings. Maya stayed in her seat, watching them. Every single one of them was clearly not human. A creature with 4 arms and blue skin walked past her. Its eyes, all 6 of them, glanced at Maya with something like curiosity before moving on. Behind it came a being made entirely of light, floating a few inches above the floor. Then a massive figure covered in scales. Then a small creature that looked like a cloud with a face. Maya was the only human on the ship. She was quite possibly the only human who had ever received an invitation to Celestial Academy. Excuse me, a voice said beside her. Maya turned to find a young woman with silver hair and pointed ears looking down at her. The woman's skin had a faint purple tint, and her eyes were entirely black. Are you waiting for someone? No, Maya said. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. I'm just preparing. The silver-haired woman tilted her head. Preparing for what? I don't know, Maya admitted. Everything, I guess. The woman smiled. It was not an unkind smile, but there was something sharp in it. You're new to off-world travel, aren't you? I'm new to everything, Maya said. I can tell. The woman said. My name is Vex. I'm from the Andromeda sector. What species are you? I don't recognize your physiology. Maya hesitated. She had been warned about this. The transport officer who had collected her from Earth had given her a single piece of advice before they left. Don't tell anyone what you are. Not until you understand why they want you here. I'm from a small planet, Maya said carefully. You probably haven't heard of it. Vex's black eyes narrowed slightly. The Academy doesn't admit students from unknown worlds. Every candidate must be registered in the galactic database. Your species must be documented. Then I'm sure it is, Maya said. She stood up, grabbing her small bag. It was nice meeting you, Vex. She walked toward the exit before Vex could ask any more questions. Her heart was beating fast. The transport officer's warning echoed in her mind. Don't tell anyone what you are. But why? What was so special about being human? The exit ramp lowered, and Maya stepped out onto the surface of Nexus Prime. The air smelled different here. Cleaner. Somehow. But also stranger. She could feel energy in the atmosphere, a subtle vibration that made her skin tingle. The Celestial Academy rose before her, like a mountain made of starlight. It was enormous beyond comprehension. The main building alone was larger than most cities on Earth. Towers and spires reached upward, until they disappeared into the clouds. Bridges of pure light connected different sections, and everywhere, students of every possible species walked, flew, floated, or crawled toward the main entrance. Maya felt very small. First-year students, this way, a voice called out. Maya looked around and saw a floating platform nearby. Standing on it was a creature that resembled a giant insect, with a hard shell and multiple wings that buzzed constantly. Form a line. Have your admission documents ready. Maya joined the line. Around her, other first-year students chatted nervously with each other. Most of them seemed to know at least one other person. Some had clearly come from the same planets or systems. Maya stood alone, trying not to make eye contact with anyone. The line moved slowly. When Maya finally reached the platform, the insect creature looked down at her with compound eyes that reflected her image 1,000 times. "Name?" it asked. "Maya Chen." The creature's wings stopped buzzing for a moment. That couldn't be a good sign. "Species?" Maya hesitated. "Human." The silence that followed was absolute. Every student within hearing range turned to look at her. The insect creature's mandibles clicked together rapidly. "That's not possible," it said. "Humans are not in the galactic database. Humans have never been contacted. Humans don't even know about the existence of other species." "Well," Maya said, "I guess someone made a mistake." The creature stared at her for a long moment. Then it pulled out a device and spoke rapidly into it in a language Maya couldn't understand. A few seconds later, a response came back. The creature's compound eyes widened. You are expected," it said, as if the words themselves were impossible. "The headmaster wishes to see you immediately." This was definitely not part of the normal admission process. Maya could tell by the way every other student was staring at her. Some with curiosity, some with suspicion, a few with something that looked almost like fear. "Follow me," the insect creature said. It turned and flew toward the main building without waiting to see if Maya would follow. She followed. The interior of the academy was even more impressive than the exterior. Hallways stretched in impossible directions. Stairs led up and down at the same time. Doors appeared and disappeared based on some logic Maya couldn't understand. Everywhere she looked, there were students studying, practicing, creating things that defied physics. They passed a room where students were manipulating raw energy with their minds. Another room where creatures were learning to bend space and time. A third room where what looked like small stars were being born and dying in controlled experiments. Maya felt her confidence shrinking with every step. These beings could create stars. What could she possibly offer? The insect creature stopped before a massive door made of what looked like solid darkness. "The headmaster's office," it said. "Good luck, human." The door opened before Maya could knock. The office beyond was vast. The ceiling showed the actual universe, with galaxies spinning slowly overhead. The walls were lined with artifacts from every corner of existence, and behind a desk made of crystal sat the oldest being Maya had ever seen. The headmaster looked like no species Maya had encountered. It seemed to be made of multiple types of matter at once, shifting and changing constantly. One moment it appeared solid, the next it was liquid, then gas, then something else entirely. Its eyes, however, remained constant. They were ancient and knowing, and fixed directly on Maya. "Sit," the headmaster said. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Maya sat in the chair before the desk. It adjusted itself automatically to her body, which was a little disturbing. "Do you know why you are here?" the headmaster asked. "No," Maya said honestly. "I thought there was a mistake." "There was no mistake," the headmaster said. "You were chosen specifically." But why? I'm just a human. We're not even in your database. We don't have any special powers. We can't manipulate energy, or bend space, or create stars. We're just ordinary." The headmaster made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Ordinary. Yes. That is what the rest of the universe believes about humanity. That is why your species has been hidden, protected, watched from a distance for thousands of your years." Maya's breath caught. "Protected? From what?" "From everything. From the wars that have destroyed countless civilizations, from the empires that would have exploited your potential, from those who would fear what you could become." "I don't understand," Maya said. "We don't have any potential. We're not special." The headmaster leaned forward. The shifting of its form became more intense. "Human. Every species in the universe is special in some way. The Krell have their telepathy. The Vorn have their strength. The luminaries have their connection to pure energy. But humanity? Humanity has something far more dangerous. Maya waited. You adapt, the headmaster said. You survive. You take everything that would destroy you, and you turn it into strength. Other species evolve over millions of years. Humanity changes in generations, decades, sometimes even faster. That doesn't seem very impressive compared to creating stars. It is the most impressive thing in the universe, the headmaster said. Because while other species reach their limits and stop, humanity keeps pushing, keeps growing, keeps becoming more. The headmaster stood and walked around the desk. Its form stabilized slightly as it approached Maya. 15,000 years ago, my species was already ancient when the universe was young. We have not changed in all that time. We are what we are. But humanity? 15,000 years ago, you were living in caves and hunting with stones. Today you have already begun to touch the stars. In another 15,000 years? In another million? Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What would we become? That is the question that terrifies the universe, the headmaster said. That is why humanity was hidden. That is why your world was removed from the galactic database before your species even developed writing. Because if the wrong people discovered what humanity could become, what would happen? They would either try to control you, or they would try to destroy you before you could become a threat. Maya sat in silence, trying to process what she was hearing. Her entire understanding of her species, of her world, had just been turned upside down. Humanity wasn't ignored because they were primitive. They were hidden because they were dangerous. Why am I here? She asked finally. Why now? The headmaster returned to its seat. Because the hiding cannot last forever. The universe is changing. Threats are emerging that even the oldest species cannot handle alone. And humanity needs to be ready. Ready for what? For the day when you must stand alongside the other species, or against them. The choice will be yours. The headmaster pressed something on its desk. You are now officially a student of the Celestial Academy. You will attend classes like any other first year. You will learn what other species can do. And in return, you will show them what humanity can do. I can't do anything special, Maya protested. I'm just a normal human. There is no such thing as a normal human, the headmaster said. That is what makes your species so remarkable. Now go. Your assigned quarters are in the Eastern Tower. Room 7749. Your classes begin tomorrow morning. A map appeared in the air before Maya. She stood, still feeling like she was dreaming. One more thing, the headmaster said as she reached the door. Do not hide what you are. The time for secrets is over. Let the universe see a human. Let them wonder. Maya left the office with more questions than answers. The door closed behind her, and she found herself alone in a hallway filled with ancient artifacts and distant starlight. She looked down at the map floating before her. Eastern Tower. Room 7749. She started walking. The journey to her quarters took almost an hour. The academy was designed for beings who could fly, teleport, or phase through solid matter. Walking was apparently considered primitive, but Maya walked, and she noticed things along the way. She noticed how other students stopped and stared at her. She noticed the whispers that followed in her wake. She noticed the fear in some eyes, the curiosity in others, and the hostility in more than a few. Word had spread. A human was at the academy. By the time she reached the Eastern Tower, Maya felt like she was being watched by 1,000 eyes. The tower itself was beautiful, made of a material that looked like frozen lightning. Her room was near the top, accessible by a lift that moved in directions Maya couldn't describe. Room 7749 was surprisingly comfortable. It had adjusted itself to human preferences before she arrived. The bed was soft. The temperature was perfect. There was even a window that showed a view of Earth, millions of light years away. Maya sat on the bed and allowed herself to feel overwhelmed for the first time since this all began. She was at the most powerful school in the universe. She was a member of a species that had been hidden for 15,000 years because they were too dangerous to be known. And tomorrow, She would have to prove herself worthy of being here. A chime sounded at her door. Maya stood and walked over. The door opened to reveal Vex, the silver-haired woman from the transport ship. Behind her stood two other students, one made of rocks and one that appeared to be some kind of living flame. "Hello, human," Vex said. There was no friendliness in her voice now. "We need to talk." Maya looked at the three beings blocking her doorway. They were clearly not here to welcome her. "About what?" she asked. "About you. About why you're here. And about what we're going to do about it." Maya felt her heart rate increase. But alongside the fear, she felt something else rising. Something that felt almost like defiance. "Fine," she said. "Come in. Let's talk." The three alien students entered her room. The door closed behind them. And Maya Chen, the only human at the most powerful school in the universe, prepared to face her first real test. She had no powers, no abilities, no special skills, but she was human. And according to the headmaster, that was the most dangerous thing she could be. Time to find out if he was right. Vex stood in the center of Maya's room like she owned it. The rock creature positioned itself by the door, blocking any escape. The living flame hovered near the window, casting dancing shadows across the walls. "Let me make this simple," Vex said. "The Academy has rules, traditions, a hierarchy that has existed for 10,000 years. First years are at the bottom. They stay quiet. They learn their place. They don't cause problems." Maya remained standing near her bed. She kept her voice calm. "And I'm causing problems just by existing?" "You're causing panic," Vex said. "Word has spread through the entire academy in less than an hour. A human. An actual human. Do you have any idea what that means? Honestly?" "No. I just learned about all this today." The rock creature made a grinding sound that might have been laughter. "She doesn't even know. She's completely ignorant." "I'm standing right here," Maya said. "If you have something to say it to my face." The creature stepped forward. It was at least 8 feet tall, made of dark stone with glowing cracks running through its body. "My name is Korn. My species has existed for 50 million years. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have watched stars die and be reborn. And in all that time, we have never met a species we feared." It leaned down until its face was inches from Maya's. The heat from those glowing cracks was intense, until we heard the stories about humanity. Maya didn't step back. "What stories?" "The stories say that humanity is a plague," the flame creature said. Its voice crackled like a fire. "That wherever you go, you consume everything. You spread across your world like a disease and destroyed it. You killed each other in numbers that made the greatest galactic wars seem small. You created weapons that could poison your planet for generations. The stories say that humanity is too aggressive to be trusted," Vex added. "Too unpredictable. Too adaptable. That if humanity ever left their world, they would eventually threaten every other species in existence." Actor. Maya looked at each of them in turn. "Those stories might be true. Some of them. Anyway, we have done terrible things to our world. And to each other." "Then why are you here?" Korn demanded. "Why would the Academy admit a member of such a dangerous species?" "I don't know," Maya said. "But I'm going to find out. And until then, I'm going to attend my classes, do my work, and try not to cause any problems. Is that acceptable?" Vex stared at her for a long moment. "No. It's not acceptable. Your presence here changes everything. Students are already choosing sides. Some think you should be studied. Others think you should be eliminated before you can become a threat. A few even think humanity deserves a chance. Which side are you on?" Vex smiled, and again there was that sharp edge to it. "I'm on my own side, always. But I'll be watching you, human. We all will. And if you prove to be a threat to this academy, or anyone in it." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. The three students left without another word. The door closed behind them, and Maya was alone again. She sat down on her bed and let out a long breath. Her hands were shaking slightly, That had been terrifying. 3 beings with powers she couldn't even imagine had just threatened her, and all she could do was stand there and talk. But she had stood there. She had talked. She hadn't run or cried or given them the fear they clearly wanted. Maybe that was something. Maya didn't sleep much that night. She spent hours reading through the orientation materials that had appeared on a device by her bed. The academy curriculum was extensive. Energy manipulation, dimensional theory, cosmic history, combat training, diplomacy, economics, science, art, everything a being might need to take their place among the stars. Most of it seemed completely beyond her capabilities. How was she supposed to learn energy manipulation when she couldn't even sense energy? How was she supposed to study dimensional theory when she had just learned that other dimensions existed? But there were other classes too. Strategy, problem solving, survival skills, communication, leadership. These seemed more accessible. These were things humans had been doing for thousands of years. When morning came, Maya dressed in the uniform that had been provided. It was a simple jumpsuit that adjusted to fit her perfectly. She looked at herself in the mirror. She looked completely ordinary, just a human girl in an alien school. Time to be extraordinary. Her first class was cosmic history, held in a massive amphitheater near the center of the academy. Maya arrived early, but the room was already half full. Students of every species sat in floating seats that arranged themselves automatically. When Maya entered, the quiet murmur of conversation stopped completely. She walked to an empty seat near the middle of the room. Every eye followed her movement. She sat down, pulled out her note-taking device, and waited. The professor arrived a moment later. It was a being made of pure thought. A consciousness without a physical form that appeared as shifting patterns of light and color. Its voice spoke directly into the minds of all present. Welcome to Cosmic History. I am Professor Aeon. Over the course of this term, we will study the rise and fall of civilizations across all 17 galaxies. We will examine the mistakes of the past, so that you may avoid them in the future. And we will discuss the patterns that define the evolution of intelligent species. The professor's attention turned to Maya. She felt its focus like a physical pressure. We have a unique opportunity this term. For the first time in Academy history, we have a student from a species that has never been contacted. A species that has been deliberately hidden from the galactic community for millennia. A species about which many of you have heard rumors and legends. Every student turned to look at Maya. Human, Professor Aeon said. Would you care to share what your species knows of its own history? Maya stood. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. We don't know much about our place in the universe because we didn't know there was a universe beyond our own world, but we know our own history very well. Tell us. Maya took a breath. Humans appeared on Earth about 300,000 years ago. For most of that time, we were simple hunters and gatherers, living in small groups and struggling to survive. Then, about 12,000 years ago, we learned agriculture. We settled in one place. We built villages, then towns, then cities. We developed writing and mathematics and science. She paused, organizing her thoughts. In the last few hundred years, we've changed more than in all the centuries before combined. We've gone from riding horses to flying in airplanes. From communicating with letters to sending information instantly across the world. From looking at the moon and wondering to actually walking on its surface. The class was silent, but Maya could feel the interest. Many of these beings came from species that had been advanced for millions of years. The idea of a civilization changing so rapidly was genuinely strange to them. We've also done terrible things, Maya continued. We've fought wars that killed millions. We've built weapons that could destroy our entire world. We've damaged our environment and threatened our own survival. We're not perfect. We're not even close to perfect. Then what are you? Professor Aeon asked. Maya thought about the question. We're in progress. We're a species that hasn't stopped changing yet. Maybe we never will. Maybe that's the point. Professor Aeon's patterns shifted in a way that might have indicated approval. Thank you, human. That was illuminating. Please sit. Maya sat. Around her, students were whispering to each other. Some still looked hostile, but others looked genuinely curious. A few even looked almost impressed. The class continued with a lecture on the first galactic civilizations, beings that had achieved spaceflight when Earth was still a ball of cooling rock. Maya took notes and listened carefully. This was information she needed to understand. This was the context she had been missing her entire life. After class, she was approached by a small group of students. Unlike Vex's group from the night before, these didn't seem hostile. That was brave, said a creature that looked like a bipedal cat with 4 eyes, speaking in front of everyone like that. Most first years barely say a word for the entire first term. I didn't have much choice, Maya said. The professor called on me directly. Still, the cat creature said. I'm Mira, from the Felis system. These are my friends. The other students introduced themselves. There was Zol, a being made of liquid metal that could reshape itself at will. There was Kira, a small creature that appeared to be made of crystal, and there was Vorn, a massive humanoid with dark blue skin and tusks. We've been talking, Mira said, about you, about what your presence here means. Maya tensed slightly. And what conclusion did you reach? That we should wait and see, Zol said. Its liquid surface rippled as it spoke. The stories about humanity are just stories. We don't actually know anything about your species. It seems unfair to judge you based on rumors. Some of the stories are true, Maya admitted. We have been violent. We have been destructive. So has every species at some point in their development, Kira said. Its crystal form chimed with each word. The Vorn used to conquer entire systems before they joined the Galactic Alliance. The Felis were assassins and spies. Even the luminaries, who seem so peaceful now, once tried to consume all the energy in an entire galaxy. The question isn't what you were, Vorn rumbled. It's what you're trying to become. Maya looked at this unlikely group of allies. Thank you. I wasn't expecting anyone to give me a chance. We're not the only ones, Mira said. There are others who are curious about you, but there are also those who have already made up their minds. Be careful of them. I will. The next few weeks passed in a blur of classes and study and constant scrutiny. Maya attended every lecture, completed every assignment, and slowly began to understand the vast complexity of the universe she had entered. Some things came easier than expected. The strategy classes were almost intuitive. Her professors noted that humans had apparently been developing tactical thinking for their entire history. The problems they posed, whether military, economic, or political, seemed to fit the way her mind worked. Other things were much harder. The energy manipulation classes left her completely lost. She could see other students moving power with their minds, shaping it into tools and weapons and works of art. Maya felt nothing. She couldn't even sense the energy that apparently filled everything. Don't worry about it, Professor Kell told her after one particularly frustrating session. The professor was an elderly being from a species that had mastered energy manipulation before most other species existed. Not all abilities are present in all species. Perhaps humans simply don't have this particular gift. Then what gift do we have? Maya asked. Professor Kell studied her with ancient eyes. I have been teaching at this academy for 6,000 years. In that time, I have seen students of every type. Those with tremendous power who achieved nothing. Those with no power at all who changed the course of history. Power is not the only thing that matters. What else matters? Will, determination. The ability to keep going when everything tells you to stop. The refusal to accept limits. Professor Kell smiled. I've been watching you. Human. You struggle with every exercise. You fail repeatedly. But you keep trying. You never give up. That is rare. That is valuable. Maya thought about these words as she left the classroom. Maybe she couldn't manipulate energy or bend space. But she could work harder than anyone else. She could learn faster, adapt quicker, push herself further. That was what humans did. The midterm examinations approached with terrifying speed. Students from across the academy began studying with desperate intensity. The tests would determine class rankings, and rankings determined everything. Access to advanced courses, eligibility for prestigious positions, respect from other students. Maya studied constantly. She formed study groups with Mira and the others. She sought extra help from professors who were willing to give it. She read everything she could find about the subjects she would be tested on. The night before the examinations, Vex appeared at her door again. "You're going to fail," Vex said without preamble. "You know that, right?" Maya was too tired to be diplomatic. "Thank you for the encouragement. I'm being realistic. The examinations test abilities you don't have. Energy manipulation, dimensional awareness, telepathic communication. You're going to score at the bottom of every category." "Maybe." Vex seemed frustrated by this calm response. "Doesn't that bother you? Don't you care about being the worst?" "I care about learning," Maya said. "I care about getting better. I care about proving that humans deserve a place in this universe. I don't care about rankings." "You should. The students who rank at the bottom are often removed from the academy. They're considered unworthy of the education." Maya felt a chill. "Removed how?" "Sent home. Their memories of this place erased. They return to their lives without ever knowing what they lost." Vex's expression was unreadable. "That's what will happen to you if you fail badly enough." "Then I'd better not fail too badly." Vex stared at her for a long moment. "You're strange. Human. Most beings would be terrified. You seem almost determined." "That's because I am. I've spent my entire life being told what I can't do. Too small, too weak, too ordinary. And every time, I've proven them wrong. Maybe I can't manipulate energy. Maybe I can't bend space. But I can work harder and think faster and refuse to quit. And in the end, that might be enough." Something shifted in Vex's expression. The hostility faded slightly, replaced by something that looked almost like respect. "We'll see," Vex said. "Good luck, human. You're going to need it." She left, and Maya returned to her studies. The examinations were only hours away. Whatever happened, she would face them as a human, with determination, with refusal to give up. Whatever happened, she would make her species proud. The examination day arrived with an atmosphere of tension that filled the entire academy. Students gathered in the central hall, where the tests would be administered. Maya stood among them, feeling very small and very alone despite her new friends nearby. The headmaster appeared on a raised platform, its shifting form commanding immediate attention. "Today you will be tested," it announced. "Not merely on what you know, but on what you can do. On what you are capable of becoming. Some of you will excel, others will struggle. But remember, this is not the end. It is only the beginning." Its ancient eyes found Maya in the crowd. "For some of you, it will be a very different beginning than anyone expected." The examinations began. Maya moved from station to station, facing test after test. As Vex had predicted, she failed most of the ability-based examinations. She couldn't move energy. She couldn't sense dimensions. She couldn't communicate telepathically. But then came the other tests, the ones that measured different qualities. The strategy examination presented her with an impossible scenario. A fleet outnumbered 10 to 1, surrounded by enemies with superior weapons. Find a way to survive. Maya studied the parameters for 20 minutes, while other students struggled for hours. Then she wrote her answer. Don't fight. Fragment the fleet into small groups. Scatter in all directions. Sacrifice the slowest ships as decoys. Use the chaos to escape, regroup at a predetermined location, and come back when the enemy least expects it. The examiner, a veteran of 1,000 battles, read her solution with visible surprise. This is not honorable, he said. Running from battle. Survival isn't about honor, Maya replied. It's about living to fight another day. The examiner marked her solution as exceptional. The problem-solving examination presented her with a failing colony. Food running out. Power failing. Population losing hope. Fix it with limited resources. Maya didn't try to fix everything at once. She prioritized. Food first, because hungry people couldn't think clearly. Then power, just enough to maintain the essentials. Then hope, because people could endure almost anything if they believed things would get better. Another exceptional mark. The survival examination dropped her into a simulated hostile environment, with no tools, no weapons, no abilities. Just her body and her mind. Other students with incredible powers struggled. They had never had to survive on their own. They had always relied on abilities that Maya didn't have. Maya built shelter from available materials. She found water by following animal tracks. She made tools from stone and wood and bone. She set traps for food. She created fire with friction. She survived for the full duration of the test while students with far greater powers failed within the first hour. By the end of the examination day, Maya had a strange collection of results. Complete failures in every ability-based category. Exceptional marks in every test that required thinking, adapting, and refusing to die. The rankings were calculated and posted the next morning. Maya stood before the massive display with the rest of her class, watching the names appear. She expected to be near the bottom. She had failed so many tests, but when her name appeared, she couldn't believe what she saw. Maya Chen, human. Overall rank, 47th out of 1,247 first-year students. 47th, not at the bottom. Not even close to the bottom. Solidly in the upper quarter of her entire class. Whispers erupted around her. The human had outranked more than 1,000 students from advanced species with incredible abilities. The human with no powers had beaten beings who could move mountains and bend reality. Mira appeared at her side, all four eyes wide with amazement. "How did you do that?" Maya looked at her ranking again, still not quite believing it. "I just did what I could. I played to my strengths." "Your strengths? You can't do anything supernatural." "I can think," Maya said. "I can adapt. I can keep going when others stop." She smiled slowly. "Turns out that's worth a lot." Across the hall, Vex stood staring at the rankings with an expression Maya couldn't read. Their eyes met. Vex nodded once, slowly, almost respectfully. Then she turned and walked away. Maya had survived her first test at the Celestial Academy. She had proven that a human, even without powers, could compete with the most gifted beings in the universe. But she knew this was only the beginning. The real challenges were still ahead. And somewhere out in the cosmos, forces were moving that would eventually test not just Maya, but all of humanity. She looked up at the distant stars visible through the Academy's crystal ceiling. Whatever came next, she would be ready. The months that followed the midterm examinations changed everything for Maya. Students who had ignored her now sought her advice. Professors who had dismissed her now paid attention. Even the hostile ones, the ones who had wanted her removed, began to watch her with something other than contempt. She continued to struggle with the ability-based classes. No amount of practice could give her powers she simply didn't have. But she excelled in everything else. Strategy, analysis, problem-solving, leadership, the areas where human thinking shone brightest. The Academy's combat masters invited her to observe their advanced classes, something almost unheard of for a first-year student. They were fascinated by human fighting techniques. The martial arts that Earth had developed over thousands of years were unlike anything in the galaxy. Not more powerful, necessarily, but more varied, more creative, more adaptable. "Your species fights dirty," Master Krell said after watching Maya demonstrate basic self-defense moves. The massive warrior was covered in scars from 1,000 battles. "You use the environment. You attack weaknesses. You refuse to follow rules." "We had to," Maya explained. "We don't have natural weapons. No claws, no venom, no armor. We had to learn to use everything else. It's effective, unpredictable. I can see why some species feared you." The second term brought new classes and new challenges. Maya discovered that humans had an unexpected gift for diplomacy. Most species in the galaxy communicated directly, saying exactly what they meant. Humans had been lying, negotiating, and reading between the lines for millennia. Maya could detect deception that others missed entirely. She could navigate political complexities that left even advanced beings confused. "You hide your thoughts behind your words," Professor Mora observed during a simulation exercise. The professor was a Mentari, a species that communicated through pure emotion. Every species does this to some degree, but humans have perfected it. It's both terrifying and impressive. "We call it social intelligence," Maya said. "It's how we survive in groups. It's how you manipulate in groups," Professor Mora corrected. "But that is not necessarily a bad thing. Politics is manipulation. Diplomacy is manipulation. You would make an excellent ambassador, Maya Chen." Spring brought the first major crisis of Maya's academy career. A distress signal reached the academy from a research station at the edge of known space. The station had been attacked by something unknown. All communication had ceased. The staff were presumed dead or dying. Normally, such incidents would be handled by the Galactic Alliance's military forces. But the station was in a region of space where no known military could reach in time. The only ship close enough to respond was an Academy training vessel currently on an extended educational voyage. The headmaster called an emergency assembly. "The research station houses 300 beings from 40 different species," it announced. "Among them are 12 Academy graduates and one current student who was there for an internship program. The Alliance has asked us to send our training vessel to investigate and render assistance if possible." The assembly hall buzzed with nervous energy. This was not a drill. This was real danger. "I am asking for volunteers," the headmaster continued. "Students who are willing to face whatever attacked that station. This is not required. Those who choose to go will be given additional training and full support. Those who choose to stay will face no judgment." Maya's hand went up before she could think about it. She was not the only volunteer. Mira volunteered, Zol, Kira, and Vorn volunteered. Even Vex, after a long hesitation, raised her hand. In the end, 50 students stepped forward. They represented dozens of species and a vast array of abilities. And among them, one human with no powers at all. The training began immediately. The volunteers learned emergency medical procedures, combat tactics, and rescue protocols. They studied everything known about the region of space where the station was located. They prepared for every scenario they could imagine. Maya found herself naturally gravitating toward a leadership role. Her suggestions in planning sessions were practical and effective. Her ability to coordinate different beings with different abilities proved invaluable. The professors overseeing the training took notice. "You're good at this," Captain Vex said one evening. The silver-haired woman had set aside her hostility weeks ago, replaced by something closer to respect. "Organizing people. Making them work together. Humans have been doing it for a long time," Maya said. "We couldn't survive alone on our world. We had to cooperate. We had to lead and follow and support each other. Most species learn cooperation eventually. But you seem to understand it differently. Like it's natural to you. It is natural. Every human is taught from birth how to work with others. It's in our stories, our games, our education. We're social beings at our core." Vex considered this. "The stories said humans were selfish. That you only cared about yourselves and your immediate families. RMR. Some humans are selfish. Some humans are terrible. But most of us just want to belong to something larger than ourselves. We want to matter. We want to help. You're very different from what I expected, Maya Chen. Humans usually are." The training vessel launched 2 weeks later. 50 students aboard, plus a crew of experienced officers and instructors. The journey to the edge of known space would take 8 days. Maya spent those days learning everything she could about her fellow volunteers. She discovered their strengths and weaknesses. She learned their fears and motivations. She built connections and understood dynamics. By the time they reached their destination, she knew the team better than most of them knew themselves. The research station floated in the darkness between stars. Its lights were out. Its communication array was silent. It drifted like a dead thing in the void. Life signs? Captain Torres asked. The old Krell warrior had commanded ships for longer than Earth had been civilized. Minimal, the sensor officer reported. Maybe 30 survivors. Maybe less. Concentrated in the lower decks. However, decks and the attackers? Unknown. There's something blocking our detailed scans. Some kind of interference. Captain Torres turned to the volunteer team. You know the mission. Find survivors. Render assistance. Identify the threat. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. We're here to rescue, not to fight. The team divided into 5 groups of 10. Maya was assigned to lead Group 3, a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. But the training supervisors had been watching. They had seen how others followed her lead. You don't have powers, one of her team members said as they prepared to board. It was a young being made of swirling gas. How can you lead us? I have ideas, Maya said. I have experience. I have the ability to think clearly under pressure. Is that enough? The gas being considered. I guess we'll find out. The boarding action began. Group 3 entered through an airlock on the station's middle deck. The interior was dark and cold. Emergency lights flickered occasionally, casting strange shadows. Somewhere in the distance, something made a sound that might have been machinery, or might have been alive. Maya moved carefully, her senses alert. She couldn't see in the dark, like some of her teammates. She couldn't sense energy or detect life forms. But she could listen. She could observe. She could think. They found the first bodies after 10 minutes. 3 researchers from different species, killed by something with tremendous physical strength. Their wounds were brutal, almost savage. What could do this? Whispered Kira, the crystal being. Its facets reflected the dim emergency lights. Something big, Maya said. Something angry. Stay alert. They pressed deeper into the station. More bodies. More evidence of violence. Whatever had attacked this place had moved through it like a storm, killing everything in its path. Then they heard the survivors. Voices, weak and frightened, coming from behind a sealed door. Maya approached carefully and knocked. 3 short. 2 long. 3 short. The universal distress signal. The door opened a crack. A terrified face appeared. Some kind of amphibian being, its skin pale with fear. Please, it whispered. Please help us. It's still here. Please help us. Maya's team entered the room. 20 survivors huddled together, most of them injured. They looked at Maya and her team with desperate hope. We're from the academy, Maya said. We're here to get you out. What happened? What attacked you? We don't know, the amphibian said. It came from outside. Something that exists between dimensions. Our shields failed. It got inside and just killed everything, between dimensions. That meant something the scanners couldn't detect, something most weapons probably couldn't affect. Can you move? Maya asked. Can you all walk? Most of us. Some are badly hurt. We'll carry the wounded. We need to get to the extraction point. Maya organized the evacuation with quick efficiency. Able-bodied survivors were paired with team members. The seriously injured were placed on makeshift stretchers. Within minutes, they were moving. They made it halfway to the extraction point before they encountered the creature. It appeared without warning, stepping out of nothing into the middle of the corridor. Maya's first impression was of wrongness. The thing existed, but it shouldn't have. It was there, but it was also somewhere else. Her eyes couldn't quite focus on it, couldn't quite understand what they were seeing. The creature was massive, filling the corridor. It had limbs, but too many of them. It had a head, but it was in the wrong place. It moved with a fluidity that defied physics. One of Maya's teammates, a being with the power to control gravity, tried to attack. The creature simply ignored the assault. The gravity manipulation passed through it without effect. Another teammate tried energy blasts. Same result. The attacks connected with nothing, as if the creature wasn't entirely present in normal space. The creature struck. One blow, almost casual, sent the gravity controller flying into a wall. Another blow dropped the energy wielder. Maya's mind raced. Conventional attacks didn't work. Powers didn't work. The creature existed partially outside normal reality. Nothing they could do would affect it. Then she noticed something. Every time the creature attacked, it had to fully enter normal space. For just a moment, it became solid. Vulnerable. "Everyone, back away!" Maya shouted. "Don't attack! Just wait!" Her team hesitated, but they obeyed. The creature advanced, clearly surprised by the lack of resistance. It was used to prey that fought back. This retreat confused it. Maya watched, studying its movements, its patterns. It was predatory, yes, but it was also curious. It was trying to understand why these beings weren't fighting. "It's used to hunting powerful beings," Maya said quietly. "Beings that attack with energy and abilities. It's evolved to counter those attacks." "But what if we don't attack? What if we make it come to us? How does that help?" Kira asked. "When it attacks, it has to become solid. That's when it's vulnerable. We need to bait it into attacking, and then we hit it with everything we have. That's incredibly dangerous." "Yes, that's why I'll be the bait." Before anyone could stop her, Maya stepped forward. She was small, unarmed, powerless. The creature focused on her immediately. She was different from the others. She had no energy signature, no abilities to sense. The creature approached slowly, fascinated. Maya stood her ground. Her heart was pounding, her instincts screaming at her to run. But she didn't move. She couldn't. The creature reached for her. Its limb became solid, real, touchable. Maya threw herself backward. Now, her team attacked in perfect coordination. Kira shattered into 1,000 crystal shards, each one razor-sharp, tearing through the creature's suddenly solid form. Vorn charged with his full massive strength, striking before the creature could phase away. The gas being compressed itself into a hurricane of cutting wind. Everyone attacked at once, their powers combining in ways they had never practiced. The creature screamed. It was a sound that existed partially outside normal hearing, a vibration that made reality itself shudder. It tried to phase away, but it was too slow, too damaged. Maya watched as the nightmare being collapsed, its impossible form finally, mercifully ending. Silence fell. The survivors stared in disbelief. You killed it," the amphibian said. "How? Nothing could hurt it. We tried everything." "You tried everything you knew," Maya said. "Humans are good at finding the things no one else has tried." The evacuation continued without further incident. All 20 survivors were brought safely to the training vessel. Maya's team had suffered injuries, but no deaths. When they returned to the academy, the headmaster summoned Maya to its office. "You did something remarkable today," it said. "You faced a creature that has destroyed entire civilizations. Species with powers far beyond your own fell to it. Yet you, a human with no abilities at all, found a way to defeat it." "I just thought of something different," Maya said. "That's all." "That's everything," the headmaster corrected. "The creature was a void hunter. They have terrorized the outer regions for millennia. No one has ever killed one before. No one has ever even survived an encounter with one." "Really? Really?" "The species that have faced them relied on their powers, their abilities. They attacked with everything they had, and the void hunters evolved to counter those attacks. They became immune to energy, to gravity, to dimensional manipulation, but they never faced a species without those abilities. They never faced a species that had to think instead of act." Maya absorbed this information. "So humans might be useful against threats like this? Threats that other species can't handle? Humans might be essential against such threats. This is what I tried to explain when you first arrived. Humanity's weakness is also your strength. You have no powers, so you must think. You must adapt. You must find solutions that beings with powers never consider." The headmaster rose and approached the window. Beyond it, the universe stretched in all its impossible vastness. The universe is changing, it said. Threats are emerging that the Galactic Alliance cannot handle with conventional forces. The Void Hunters are only one example. There are others. Ancient beings that have slept for billions of years are awakening. Forces from outside our reality are pressing at the boundaries. And everywhere, species with tremendous powers are finding that their powers are not enough. It turned back to Maya. Humanity may have been hidden for a reason that was not just about your potential danger, but about your potential salvation. You may be exactly what the universe needs. Not soldiers with power, but thinkers who can find a way when no way exists. That's a lot of pressure for one species. Yes. But your species has been facing impossible pressure for your entire existence. You evolved on a world that tried to kill you at every turn. You survived ice ages, and diseases, and natural disasters. You faced extinction repeatedly and refused to die. If any species can handle this pressure, it is humanity. Maya thought about everything she had experienced since arriving at the academy. The hostility, the doubt, the assumptions about what she could and couldn't do, and then the slow, grudging respect as she proved herself over and over. What happens now? She asked. Now you continue your education. You continue to learn and grow and show the universe what humanity can do. And when the time comes, when the threats become too great to ignore, you will help lead the response. Me specifically, you specifically. You have shown qualities that are rare in any species. You inspire others to follow you. You see solutions that others miss. You refuse to give up, no matter the odds. These are the qualities of a leader, Maya Chen. These are the qualities that will be needed in the coming storms. The headmaster returned to its seat. Go. Rest. You have earned it. But remember what I have told you today. The universe is watching humanity now. What they see will determine whether your species is welcomed as allies or feared as threats. Maya left the office with a weight on her shoulders that was heavier than anything she had ever carried. But alongside the weight, she felt something else. Purpose. Meaning. A reason for everything that had happened. She walked through the academy's crystal corridors, past students of every species, past wonders that would have seemed impossible mere months ago. She was no longer the confused girl who had arrived by accident. She was becoming something else. Something her species had never been before. A bridge between humanity and the stars. When she reached her quarters, she found Vex waiting by the door. I heard what happened on the station, Vex said. What you did, the team did it. I just had an idea. Don't minimize what you accomplished. I've been in simulated combat with Void Hunters. I've seen entire fleets annihilated by them, and you, with no powers at all, found a way to kill one. Does this mean you finally stopped thinking I'm a threat to the Academy? Vex smiled, and for the first time, there was nothing sharp in it. I've stopped thinking a lot of things. You've changed my understanding of what's possible. You've changed many beings' understanding. I'm just one human. There are billions more on Earth, all of them just as determined, just as adaptable, just as refusing to give up. Vex's smile faded slightly. That's what some of us are afraid of. Billions like you? Not to fight, to help, to think of solutions no one else can see. To refuse to accept defeat. That's what we can offer. And what do you want in return? Maya considered the question. A place in the universe. Recognition that we exist and matter. The chance to prove ourselves. After today, I think you've begun to earn that chance. Vex straightened. I came to apologize, by the way, for how I treated you when you first arrived. I judged you based on stories instead of seeing you for who you actually are. The stories weren't entirely wrong. Humans have done terrible things. Every species has done terrible things. It's what we do now that matters. Vex extended her hand. Friends? Maya took the offered hand. Friends. That night, Maya sat by her window and looked at the tiny dot of light that was Earth's sun. Millions of light years away, her species went about their lives without knowing that the universe had noticed them, without knowing that everything was about to change. The headmaster had said that threats were coming, that humanity might be needed to face them. that the skills humans had developed just to survive might be exactly what the universe required. Maya didn't know if she was ready for that responsibility. She didn't know if any human was ready. But readiness had never stopped her species before. Humans had faced every challenge in their history without being ready. They had simply refused to accept defeat. She thought about her journey. From a confused girl in a small Montana town to a student at the most powerful school in existence. From an outsider who didn't belong to someone who had killed a creature that terrorized civilizations. From a mistake to someone the universe was beginning to believe in. It had started with a letter on a kitchen table. It had grown into something she couldn't have imagined. And it would continue growing. Into a future that no one could predict. Maya smiled into the darkness. The universe had hidden humanity for 15,000 years, afraid of what they might become. Now that hiding was over. Now humanity was stepping onto the galactic stage, represented by a 17-year-old girl with no powers and no limits on her determination. The universe wasn't ready for humanity, but humanity was ready for the universe. And that, in the end, was what mattered. Maya closed her eyes and dreamed of stars. In her dreams, humanity stood alongside the other species, not as conquerors, not as threats, but as partners, as problem solvers, as the ones who found a way when no way existed. In her dreams, the future was bright. And when she woke the next morning, she began working to make those dreams real. Because that was what humans did. They dreamed impossible dreams. And then they made them possible.